Good morning. We're out here in Wyoming on a fire and want to take a look at these pastures that got burned off. They got burned off as a contingency. Up there on the hill, those are the bighorns, and to the north of us, it was on fire, and they burned out these blocks of pasture lands as a contingency lines basically, and kind of see what things look like here in Wyoming. Sheridan is down in there, just direct down the valley from us. So these contingency lines were important so they could stop the spread of fire. If things were up in those hills, it could spot down in here. So kind of the procedure is just to burn stuff out. But I wanted to look at it and take a look at the grasses in the pasture before it ever got burned. Kind of see here the grasses and different things. There's some growth, decent litter bed down in there, some different types of grasses and stuff, but what I'm told is they had so much grass they weren't really able to graze it off. And this isn't even the thickest of the grasses that we've seen out here. But I've heard from Ian Mitchell-Innes and Greg Judy that there's not enough cattle in the United States out on pasture grazing, and a lot of those cattle that I see are in Idaho at feedlots and other places. So it seems like all the steers just get hauled in down to feedlots, and now because of these fires, these ranchers are having these pastures burned off. So in regenerative grazing and holistic land management circles, we'd be trying to hold this stuff over for winter stockpile and have our animals graze in it. Greg Judy's talked about in the past he used to be a burnaholic, and I imagine he would recognize what this looks like out here. I'm told that, you know, yeah, this stuff will grow back, and they were able to remove all the old rank pasture grass that didn't get grazed. But what's happening biologically to the soil when this gets burned? There's a lot of heat, and I'm wondering what's happening to the soil life when this is getting burned off. And I hear that when you burn it to this extent that you're actually killing the grasses and the soil life, the biological soil life, when you do those burns. So I just wanted people to see kind of what we're looking at today out here in these burn block units, and these are many acres, hundreds of acres. We're hoping that they'll have green grass next year, and if they have a grazing plan, management plan, I'm just hoping that they can graze this off and they won't have grasses that haven't been grazed for a few years, as we picked up a spot the other day. The grass is a big liability, the tall grass, for spot fires when you have wildland fires burning in the areas. All right, so we're in this little green island right here of grass that didn't get burned off, and this is where a manure pile was. I just dug into it with my hand tool and kind of wanted to check out what's going on here with the soil. Smells really good. Seems like they really actually have some pretty good ground here. It's able to hold moisture. I've only dug into it a little bit. It's hard to see the pasture get burned off like that when they had really good soil health down in here. Don't really see dung beetles or worms or anything like that, but you can see evidence of dung beetles working on these manure piles. So you can see here, these are kind of the brushy tree areas that grow in. When you don't have grazing, this stuff starts to grow in. You can see where the fire came in, burned this stuff out. I'm not sure what's gonna happen with this, if this is just gonna die out and then get grass grown in it again. But Ian and Greg talk about too much rest or not enough grazing. Everything kind of starts to turn back into brush again. So here's kind of an example in Wyoming of what happens. Here's one of the areas that didn't get burned out. Some nice aspen trees in here and shrubs and different foliage and stuff. The sheep would really like these areas. They would take care of a lot of the fuels and manage these areas quite well if they were able to get some animals in here. All this kind of broadleaf stuff in here. Sheep, even goats, would clear all this out real well. This particular area didn't get any fire on it, so it didn't get cleaned up. Here's the same kind of area where it was burnt. Not much in here. This burned real hot. This really took the fire. This here looks kind of swampy down in here, but it's just all charcoal. Maybe you could throw a bale in here and bale feed this area and get some manure going with this charcoal. Make some biochar or something. Depending on what your management goals are, you could utilize this area. You can see where the edge is right up in there. Pretty risky using fire to manage. We had an area down the road that had got away and started a spot fire, and so I really don't think fire is the way to manage your silvopasture. I would think goats and sheep would do a better job, more productive job, and be a lot safer. So here we found some bones and kind of see how they react to the fire. They basically turn into charcoal. It can be part of the biochar that you're making, is you can burn the bones. The better the burn, obviously, the more it turns into a charcoal substance. Probably a deer. When we're on fires, we see a lot of bones. Obviously, if it was human, it would be the human skull that would be the trigger point for investigating something, but that's not the case here. So here's something interesting. We found a little antler shed in the fire. This has been here for quite a few years already. I just thought it was kind of interesting and thought I would share it. We find a lot of antler sheds once the grass is burned. They kind of pop out and they're easier to find. They just kind of stand out. This is just a little one. Still, it's a good little souvenir to toss in the pocket. Maybe a little door handle, or put it on the wall to hang a hat or something. Little keepsake from Wyoming. Here's some of the unburnt grasses you can see here. Pretty thick. Tall, dense. Thought we'd take a look at the grass density. There's some sage starting to grow in here or something.